Alrighty, guys, welcome to our February team call, and we have Melissa Galamay who is speaking on our team. She's actually part of Diesel Nation, so you will recognize her. Hopefully, get to know her throughout your time here. And Melissa and I connected a couple years ago. It was my second time hitting Premiere, and I remember having Sammy. He was maybe 2 months old, and I don't know if you remember this, Melissa. I think I have photos of us, and we were down on like below the stage, and we just connected. And I felt like one of those things where you friend request each other and you get to know one another by seeing each other on Facebook. Then you get to know about their story. And one thing that's always inspired me about Melissa, and she's going to get into this when she talks, but was just how she was able to be vulnerable on especially Facebook. And I know, and you can go into this, Melissa, if you predominantly do more Facebook when you first started and how it evolved more into Instagram or where you get your business. Because myself, and a lot of our leaders, we're so Instagram focused, but I know there's a lot of business out there with Facebook. But going into Melissa and how long she's been a coach, she's been coaching for 7 years. And out of those 7 years, 6 years in a row, she's been able to hit Success Club, which is incredible, as you guys all know. Not only that, but she was able to bring herself home. She has 3 kids. And she's been able to bring herself home 5.5 years ago, or she's been home full time for 5.5 years out of the 7 years of coaching. And she is a 5-time elite coach, which that is incredible. I don't know many coaches, especially out of Diesel Nation, that have been able to accomplish that. And then she's 6-star diamond and then 1 star in her second business center. So with that being said, Melissa, I'm going to let you take it over. I'm so excited to have you on.
Hi guys, I'm super honored to be here. So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit of my story, and then I have a presentation. And like Kelly said, I do have a team call, but any questions, throw them in the chat and I will absolutely answer them. So like Kelly said, I've been a coach for 7 years. Actually, my 7 years was on Sunday. And like many of you guys, you probably didn't intend for this ever to be a business. I was silently watching my coach on social media and was so envious of the life that she was building, and just wanted more, but was terrified to, number one, put myself out there. Number two, like, I was not a workout person. I did not have an athletic background. I was super envious of the people that were. I remember trying out for, like, I played soccer in school, and then once I got to high school, that completely went out the window. I was a total party girl, made lots of wrong choices. I was super envious of all the girls on the high school soccer team. I tried out for volleyball, didn't make it. That, like, nixed me from trying out for anything else. And being 100% candid, I fell into addiction at a very young age. And so when I say addiction, I don't mean like marijuana, I mean like hardcore drugs. And I pretty much lost myself until I met my husband, which was, again, super unexpected. And I think that meeting him and then unexpectedly getting pregnant 3 months later saved my life, because I was headed nowhere really, really fast. And so when I found Beachbody, I was climbing the corporate career. I literally had, like, slammed the door closed on my past. I didn't want anyone to know what that looked like. Like, no one in my inner circle knew my past, because I was really, really, really good at hiding it. From the outside world, like, everything was put together, but we were short on time and we were short on money. I had 2 small boys that were growing up in daycare, and I literally didn't know how we were going to survive. I was drowning in motherhood, and knew I needed something for myself. My husband and I had a really hard 2012 where our marriage almost ended, by my fault. Obviously it takes 2, but I was really the one that, like, I had so much trauma from my past that it was starting to seep through, and I wanted to just be done. Like, I didn't feel like I was a good mom. I didn't feel like I was a good wife. I didn't feel worthy of love. And so when I found my coach and she was sharing so authentically, didn't know anyone who was sharing openly on social media. And we didn't have I think we had like a couple mutual friends, but we didn't know each other. We weren't from the same town. And so I was like drawn to her. And because I watched her story, I found Becky and Christina. Here was two successful moms who were making well over 6 figures doing this Beachbody thing. And I didn't know what I had to do, but I wanted in. So after watching on the sidelines for 13 months, I decided to jump in, but I was absolutely not going to coach. I was going to have these little private accountability groups where I could just post my stuff. And if people wanted any information, I would share it, but I wasn't going to pressure anyone. That changed within the first week because I lost 6 pounds. Like I was tightening, I was toning, and my confidence just skyrocketed. So I guess that's where my story really starts. Like Kelly said, after 15 months, I was able to walk away from my full-time job. And here's the difference that I think for me, my back was against the wall. My husband and I unexpectedly found out that we were pregnant with our 3rd child. I had the IUD, so we had no intentions of having another baby. But here I was, drowning in life already, literally dreading the daycare bill every month because I felt like I was like, that was like our, besides the house, that was our biggest expense. And I just kept thinking like, how am I going to afford a baby, like an infant in daycare? And so I put my head down and I went to work. And when she was 7 months old, I walked away from my full-time job and have been home for 5 years now. And I really feel like the Lord prepared me then for now, because I didn't know when I signed up 7 years ago that I was going to have to become a distance learning teacher. I can't even call myself a teacher. I have zero patience. I don't know how they do that. And I like to say it's very fortunate that I got sober 4 years ago, because there's no way my kids could have a drunk mom right now. So while I did walk away from, the drug scene when I met my husband, I did continue to drink alcohol up until 4.5 years ago. So I'm going to tell you guys how I really have shared my story and why I think sharing your story is key. Give me 1 second though, because I have to grab my phone where I have some notes. And then Kelly, do I have the ability to, can you give me the rights to share my screen?
Yeah, I'll make you the host.
Okay. Okay, perfect. And then share. And then Cal, will you just give me a heads or a thumbs up that you can see my screen? Okay, perfect. So I did this presentation a while ago, and when Kelly talked to me about what to share, I wanted to have something, and I'll just be 100% honest. I've been flying by the seat of my pants this week. I actually have 14 calls on deck, and when I woke up yesterday morning, I was like, holy crap, what did I do to myself? But here I am. I'm super grateful, and I'm going to talk to you guys about the importance of sharing your story. Before we get in here, I hope that you guys are able to either watch this back later and take notes, because I know it is a crazy time. I'm in California too. But I want you guys to get really intentional about how you start moving forward. I don't know where everyone is in their business. If you guys want to share that in the chat, please feel free to, and I can check later. But I want you to think about what you can take from this call and how you can take nuggets and tweak it to be your own and start serving your clients in a different way and get your heart and your head in a place of service. That is what we get to do in this business. And I think that starts by getting really vulnerable and sharing your story, because when you can connect the dots for people and you can embrace your mess and you can turn your mess into a message, that's where people will start getting really comfortable with you. So do not be afraid to share the ugly parts. I just told you guys about a messy marriage that we had, parts of our marriage that we had. I told you about how I was drowning, in motherhood. I felt overwhelmed. I didn't feel worthy. I told you that I struggled with addiction. I share all of that openly on social media because I believe it helps me become relatable to people who are watching my story. It also helps build relationships with people so that they know that they're not alone, and it creates connections. How many times have you guys read one of, those bloggers who they put up a post and you're like, oh my gosh, me too, right? I know so many times I have felt myself in other people's stories, and I think that's what's given me the courage, is I've always kind of been drawn to people who wanted a way out of their mess and like took steps to do that, and now I've become that advocate for them. So I'm going to give you guys some examples of recent things that have happened. So I have a coach on my team. Her name is Stephanie. She reached out to me back in June, maybe it was the end of May. And she said, hey, I read your story, your testimony in a recovery page. And I just have to say, like, I felt myself so much in your story. And so we started conversing. That's not uncommon. We had a few friends in common, but I didn't catch on to that yet. But she was like, I'm new in recovery and I'm looking for some positive, sober people. And so of course I started talking about coaching. Well, turns out she lives an hour and a half away from me. So she asked if we could get together. Guys, I didn't go into that walk that we had thinking I was going to have a new coach on my team, but because she felt herself in my story and she heard what I've been able to accomplish with Beachbody and the freedom that it's given me mentally, emotionally, financially, physically, she wanted to be a part of that. Okay. So sharing your story is a way for people to immerse themselves and know where you've been. Next story is, this person is not a coach on my team, but he's in my community. He is one of the fire captains of our county. He reached out to me yesterday. He sent me a text and he said, hey, Melissa, can I talk to you about Lisa? Lisa's his wife. Lisa's an alcoholic, deep in her addiction. He said, I thought of you because you're a role model. Do you think that I ever started this business to become a quote unquote role model for my community? No, I was terrified that I live in a gated community with like 3,500 people where my kids go to school here to share my ugly truth. But I did it because I remember sitting on a call with Danielle Natoni where she said, you become that person in your community that when you walk into the grocery store, they know they can get Shakeology from you. They know they can, come to you for a workout. I wanted to be the person that people could turn to, not only for those things, but also to know that they had a way out of their crap. Because even people who grow up with the most amazing family and the best circumstances, they have crap, right? And so because I've shared my truth so openly, it's allowed me to become an advocate for other people within my community. The next thing is, I am a part of this organization pre-pandemic that is called 100 Women Strong. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it, but it's basically a nonprofit organization where women come together and you basically hear from 3 different nonprofit organizations and they're asking for a $100 donation. So they get up there and they share their truth and what they do for the community, what they do. My very first time at this meeting, I was like super hesitant. I'm like, I don't know. I know it's a good networking thing, but like, I don't know. I did need write-offs, but the moment I sat down and I started listening to these people's stories, I didn't hesitate reaching in my bag and grabbing my checkbook and then continuing to go into these things. I was willing to invest because I knew people's stories. Okay. So it's super important that you start speaking your truth. Beachbody doesn't need us to brand them. They have done an incredible job at branding themselves. But if you can go out and you can share your story and brand yourself, you're going to make connections, which is the key to building relationships, and relationships build your following. And the more followers that you have, the more clients that you have. I'm here to tell you, I've built a 6-figure business from my phone, freaking hot mess mom, without having 10,000 followers on Instagram. Like Kelly had mentioned, I, for a very long time, was primarily on Facebook. I was like super intimidated about Instagram. Now it's totally my jam and I'm slowly growing that. But I think I'm only at like 3,400 followers. I just locked in Elite for the 5th time with my team. I did that because I lead people. I'm not chasing a title. And I speak my truth by sharing my story, okay? Building relationships. That is my main goal when I go out and I share my story, is to help somebody out of their own mess. So you might be thinking, I don't really know my story. So tonight I want you to write, or later I want you guys to think about what makes you you and start making a list. Think about the things that you like and the things that you dislike. Think about the events that you've attended. Like, I tell stories of going to Tony Robbins all the time, because it was impactful to me. I knew I walked away from a Tony Robbins event, and this might sound crazy, but I knew when I walked away from a Tony Robbins event that I needed to find God. Like, that was what I took from Tony Robbins, was that I needed to know the Lord. And now for 4 years, I've been seeking him and surrendering to him, and my daughter and I just got baptized, and I've been taking people on a journey, and my intent is to help other people find Christ too. It's not to push a religion, it's to help them build a relationship as well, right? Hobbies. What are the things that you like to do? How many of you guys can say, I don't know, I'm just a mom? Or I just like, I like to work out. I love Beachbody, or I love running, or whatever it is. But if you can start thinking about the things that you could do if time or money wasn't an issue, you will come up with the hobbies that you would like to do. When I was growing up, I loved scrapbooking. I have not scrapbooked since my second son was like 4 months old, because I just haven't found the time. But now that they're older, I'm starting to get back into things that I like. One of the things that I recently did, and it's been a tug on my heart for a couple years, is I started a girls group within our community, and I totally disqualified myself for a really long time because I don't have a teenage girl. And who am I, right? I think we ask ourselves that all the time, especially when sharing our story or speaking our truth, is we ask, who am I to share this, right? What are people going to think of me? But I want you to let go of those fears and just speak your truth. But I started this girls group, and I can tell you Wednesdays at 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock, that is my favorite hour of the entire week. It is, because I'm not on my phone. I'm pouring into these girls. They're like engaging. I just felt like there needed to be something like that. The other thing that I did for myself to start a hobby this year, I started a podcast, something that I wanted to do for so freaking long. And again, I was like, who am I to do this? Why would I do this? Right? So whether it's running marathons, or, getting involved in your local book club, or creating a book club, or trying a cooking class, whatever that is, start making a list of those things, and then talk about the different seasons of your life. I told you about my addiction. I didn't tell you about my very traumatic childhood, but I had a very traumatic childhood. I talk about, becoming a new mom and not feeling like I was going to be able to take care of this baby, and those feelings and those doubts and the stress and the overwhelm. I talk about the season of wanting to climb my corporate career because that made me feel significant. That made me feel like I was earning an income which would earn my family's love when I didn't need to do that, right? I talk about all those things because it's relatable to people, because there's people in that season right now who need help and guidance and support and encouragement to know that they are worthy, that they are enough, that you can have freaking fun building a business from your phone, that you can fall in love with working out and you don't have to have a six-pack, right? That you can eat clean and still enjoy hamburgers and tacos. Like, I think there's such a huge misconception. And when people don't know who you are, it's hard for them to want to join you, right? But one of the things that I've learned over the years is that because people know what I do, which is serve people, I don't get a lot of objections around why they wouldn't want to join me. A lot of the objections is normally time or money, and then I give them a solution to that, right? So let's dive deep into how to share. So nobody gets to tell you how to write your story. I want to give you permission right now to let go of any fears or doubts or insecurities, because I know that held me back for a really long time. I didn't want to hurt my family by speaking my truth. I didn't want to be judged by, other moms in my community for the way that I felt if they still worked full time, or if they were, happy being stay-at-home moms. But nobody gets to tell you what your truth is. Okay. Second question is, do you know what your truth is? And that goes back to identifying, the parts of your story that you can get really raw and truthful with, right? Maybe it's not marriage issues that you had. Maybe you've had this amazing marriage, but you haven't felt worthy in your own body. Maybe every time you walk into the closet, you literally feel like you have nothing to wear. Tell those stories. Maybe talking about how you've worked so hard to get to where you are, and you still weren't comfortable, and then you found this community of women who were lifting you up. So really thinking about what your truth is, who you're trying to reach, what's the impact that you're trying to make, and if you were to die tomorrow, what would your legacy people be saying about you? Okay, so how are you going to share? You are going to share your background by talking about what was life like before you found this opportunity. What were the things that kept you up at night? Right? I remember laying in bed with so much anxiety, not really identifying it as anxiety, but feeling like an elephant was sitting on my chest when I would have to call in sick because my kids like were sick, or when I would have to drop my kids off at daycare in hope that they didn't have a fever or that they weren't snotty nose, and tell the babysitter, hey, they're not feeling good, but I have to go into the office. Please let me know and I'll try to come back, right? That was like sickening to me. I hated that I couldn't be the mom that I wanted to be. What did you hate about it? I just talked about that. What emotions did you experience? I'll never forget getting our family pictures back. And literally, I went into it and I was so proud of our family pictures. I couldn't wait. And then I got them back and I was like, oh my God, I can't send these. My husband and my boys looked, I loved them, right? Everyone's smiling, looking at the camera. And as moms, you know how hard that can be. But then I looked, just take a little bit. I looked at myself and I was like, oh my God, I literally hated the way I looked. I was like, I'm never going to wear a short sleeve shirt again. Like my arms are gigantic. Looking at the picture now, I don't think it's awful. I think what was going on in my headspace was the issue, right? I remember the pants that I were wearing, my favorite black pants. And they were, my youngest was 3.5 years old. And I was still holding them together with a rubber band. I didn't want to feel like that anymore. So I tell that story about the solution that I found and how those color containers changed my life, and how I saw Christina Delgado, who was a stranger on social media, who I connected with through my coach, but she lost 12 pounds and 12 inches. Like I still remember those things. And I thought to myself, she doesn't even have that to lose. If she could do that, why not me? Right? And how does this make you feel about the future? Okay, talking to people, like what gets you excited about this? What it is about your the team that makes you excited? What does it feel like to know that at some point you could add an additional income to your family? Or how is that additional income playing a role in your future? Okay, so storytelling best practices. You don't have to share everything at once. You want to leave breadcrumbs to leave people wanting more. And I think we do a really good job at this through our stories, because people are constantly, it's kind of like reality TV, right? People always want to know what's going on. And Instagram does not let you write 10 paragraphs like Facebook. So you have to kind of, condense it. I'll never forget. So I was asked to speak at Beachbody's leadership event. And I was thinking about this today as I was preparing for the call. And Sandy gave me some feedback afterwards, Sandy from the National Wake Up Call. And she said, you don't have to give the entire story. You can give that, the highlights of it to keep people engaged. So that's something I always think about. Tell your story over and over again. If you are continuously connecting with new people, then you will have new people reading your story. And you never know when your story shared that the right person is going to be ready. Right? I watched my coach for 13 months before I did anything. I have a girl on my team who watched me for 12 months. Every single month she got an invite. Every single month she said no, until it was time, right? Until she was actually ready. So keep sharing your story. Be like, the more that you do it, the better you will feel. If you saw Melissa 7 years ago, I would not have been able to get on a call like this. I would have been like, hyperventilating and stuttering over my words, probably crying my eyes out because I couldn't speak my truth without breaking down completely because I wasn't healed, but also I wasn't comfortable with my truth. So how did I get better? I put myself in positions and volunteered for calls, sought out ways to, speak out, started doing Facebook Lives, got in my Instagram stories, things like that. And now I'm able to speak and share openly, where I feel like I'm pretty confident in it. Obviously, the nervousness doesn't go away, at least hasn't for me after 7 years, but I do feel confident because it's my story. And again, no one gets to tell me what my truth is. They may not like it, but they can't take that from me, right? So next one is staying consistent. Consistency builds a loyal following. If you just, don't ever share anything, and then you go out and you share, and then you don't share anything again for another month, it's going to be really patchy, right? People aren't going to really probably follow you. And if all you're sharing is just your workouts or just how you made your shake that day, that may inspire some people, but you might not have that emotional connection with them. Right. And so that's what you're looking to, is building those relationships and that trust before they even get started with you. I feel like most of the people on my team and in my challenge groups already know a lot of my story, because I am constantly sharing bits and pieces of it over and over and over again. And what I've realized is that the more that I've healed from my past, the less mess it looks like. It's just speaking my truth, right? So your story matters. Someone needs to hear where you've been and where you are now. And the worst story that you ever tell is the one that you don't tell at all. Okay. So you have to get really intentional in speaking your truth. I did give some examples of some great storytellers. You guys can screenshot these and check them out. Amanda Ford, she isn't a working coach anymore, but she was an incredible storyteller. She had a way of captivating and engaging people. Christina Delgado, I mean, let's all hail to the queen, right? Maddie, so this, guys, this presentation I made like 2 years ago. Maddie's now one of our elite coaches on my team, and she's incredible. Like, she's incredible. If you don't follow her now, go check out how she tells stories. Tonight she did a snippet about not ever wanting to ask for time off and feeling like she always had to do something. And she led it into our coach sneak peek that we're doing on tomorrow night, right? So thinking about those things. Christy Kronzer, she's another incredible coach within the network. She is, and she's a multi-millionaire because of this. And she's like, I want to say like 35. Like, it's insane. Her story's incredible. I will always stop and read Christy's stuff because it's engaging, right? Arlene, again, not working coach anymore, but she was the same, captivating. Okay. And then I have one of mine. Another person would be Monica Lopez. I think she does an incredible job. You guys know who those people are. Let me stop sharing screen. The ones that are like the scroll stoppers, or that you're constantly going to their page to see what they posted because you want more of that, because they've been breadcrumbing and taking you on a journey through this. So let me just double check at the notes I did today and see. So the other thing I said is that we all walk through hard things, and we get to help other people walk through theirs. Like, that's the beauty of this business. And one of the best things that I've ever done in this, as a leader in this community, is not try to pretend that I'm perfect. I've never tried to wrap my life up in a bow and pretend that I have it all together, or that I just came in and freaking life just became better because I started Beachbody. No, it's given me an opportunity to transform, and it's led me to the greatest decisions of my life, including finding the Lord, which I got sober before I found the Lord, but getting sober, finding the Lord, and healing and getting healthy from the inside out. I truly feel like if I never have 6 packs, it's going to be okay. Like, that really isn't what led me to this opportunity. I wanted confidence in my skin, and I have that today, whether the scale's up 10 pounds or it's down 10 pounds. I just got really real in my stories yesterday and just saying, like, I haven't been eating crappy, but I also haven't been diligent on what I'm eating. And so the scale is up right now, right? I took my leaders on a little retreat for NLC. We've had Super Bowl, like all these things. I'm not where I'm super comfortable. So I have the tools to reel that in, right? And that is the beauty of this business, is we have a solution no matter where people are. And I think a lot of times we make these prejudgments of people of like, oh, their life just looks so perfect, and that person's already thin, they probably wouldn't want this opportunity. We don't get to make that choice, right? I was really good at putting on a mask and pretending that I had it all together, but I was drowning in life, and I needed something to bring me back to life. So think about it, guys. How are you going to go out and boldly share your story? Go out and study people who are good storytellers. Read books on how to share your story. Stories That Stick is one of my favorite personal development books on sharing your story. Listen to podcasts. practice sharing your stories, right? Ask your leader, hey, is there a team call I could co-lead, or I could take this on, or can I go live in our group? Or just take it upon yourself to do those things instead of asking for permission, because you don't have to do that either. And I promise you, it's just like working out. And when you exercise that muscle, it will start to build. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Final question is, based on the work that you're doing now, and I hope everyone says yes, would you join your team? Would you feel connected to you to join your team because you're sharing your truth, you're showing up authentically, right? And if the answer is no, the cool thing is that the sun is going to set and rise again tomorrow, and you have a new opportunity to make this whatever you want it to be. Because I never in my wildest dreams ever thought that I would be leading a 5-time elite team. One last tip, Kelly told you guys that I'm a 6-star diamond and I'm 1 star in my second business center. And you might be thinking, that doesn't really add up. She's a 5-time elite coach. Don't you have to get 2 new leaders every year? Guys, I rebuild my team every single year. Just like I told you, Amanda's not in the business anymore. I know that people come and go out of this business. I know that people drop rank. And so my purpose is always finding new people to link arms with. I will never shun anyone on my team. I will never take them out of my team page unless they hit the cancellation form. But if they take a step back and realize that it's not for them, that's their choice, right? I can try to mentor them. I can try to talk to them about their giftings and why I think that they shouldn't. But at the end of the day, I have 3 children in my house that need me to take care of them and handhold and do all and spoon feed and all those things. I can't do that for grown adults. So I know that sometimes it can get really challenging and people will leave you and it gets defeating, and sometimes your rank will drop. But that's not your story, right? My rank doesn't define me. I have a girl who's so close to locking in diamond. She's an emerald and a half away. That's going to put my second business center into 2-star qualifying, actually 3, because I have 2 diamonds on 1 leg. But none of that matters if I'm not leading with my heart, right? And so do a heart check. Are you doing this for the right reasons, or are we chasing shiny objects? Are we speaking with conviction and truth, or are we getting stressed out because we haven't locked in qualification? When you can learn to love this business regardless of your rank, I promise you it gets really freaking cool. And when you can help your coaches figure out their story so that they can start healing and getting lean and toned and making money and having fun and coming with you on trips, that's like the best thing ever, is when you have your team joining you on trips, or you have your team earning things like NLC or the Success Club trip. Please, Lord, let us get to some trips this year. And I know many of us are going to be in Orlando coming up, which I'm super excited about. But when you have people who earn those things with you, this becomes so much more fun, because leadership gets lonely at the top. And I've had lots of ebbs and flows in this business, and I share those openly because I don't want my team to ever think that this is perfect. And I don't want people on social media to think that I think I'm better than, or that I have it all figured out together. I just told you guys, I scheduled 14 calls this week. What was I thinking? Like literally Tuesday through Thursday, I do power hours in the morning, so I did count those, but literally I'm like, what? I don't know when I'm gonna see my husband. He came in, I was like, dinner's on the stove, I hope. Like, I don't know what the kids are doing. But that's literally the beauty of this business, is you can be it anyways. And I told my team next week, I'm not doing any calls, right? I'm not going to lead the power hours. I'll do my own. I'm going to take that time to detach and spend time with my kids because they have a week off. Because I've built this business without giving up when things got hard. I've made the post where nobody freaking liked it except for like my dad. Right? So we all start somewhere, and you had a story before Beachbody. Talk to people about why they want to be a part of this and get freaking excited, because it's literally the best, in my opinion, the best thing out there. Like, I know there's other MLMs and people get really passionate about what they do, but I just don't know that it compares. So if you guys have any questions, I am happy. I have a little bit of time.
Melissa, I'm going to go ahead and ask you a question.
Yeah.
Since we do have a good combination on right now of new coaches and ladies who have been doing this for a year or two, what would you say that in order to like get your business going in the right direction and create that momentum when you are a new coach, or you're like a coach that's been dabbling but you haven't really made any strides yet? What would you say like the top things to do are
Okay.
as they begin their, I guess, their coaching journey?
Yeah. So first and foremost, I want you to take a deep breath because it is overwhelming. So if you feel overwhelmed, congratulations. Welcome to the club. It's a lot. I know. It's hard to go from 6 notifications a day to like 60 in an hour. And then you're in this group and you're in that group. So my best advice is have a conversation with your coach and see what is the most important. Sticking to a system like the business activity tracker or whatever your team uses and being consistent with it. Like that literally tells you what to do. There's no guesswork. And then also I'm going to go out on a limb and just say, you can't do everything. And I know I just told you like I'm flying by the seat of my pants this week, but when you do so much and you're not taking time to do your personal development, which I think should be the first vital behavior. I mean, obviously we need to be proof that the products work, but I'm a firm believer if you can transform your mind, you can transform your life. I know Shanti says that, but I feel that too, like deep in my core. Your mindset, get that in the right place. So take a deep breath, figure out what system you're going to use. I personally use the business activity tracker. And then I lead power hours for my team. That wasn't something we had when I started out as a coach. But now I want my coaches to know, like, I will hold your hand for that. I will like spoon feed you through this. On those power hours, if you guys don't get on them, we offer them through Diesel Nation. We literally tell you what to do. There is no guesswork. And I think Kelly leads them for you guys too, right?
Yeah, we
Okay.
need to probably figure out a way to do more, because we do like one set team one on Tuesdays. And then I know Kim a lot of times doesn't have it on the books, but usually one on Thursday. But we do have like the Diesel Nation times, and you do a lot of those, right?
I do them 5 days a week because that keeps me accountable.
And you
I
do
know
what time, Melissa? 5:30 in the morning?
5:30 in the morning. And I do that because I know if I don't have that time, I've built this business in pockets for years, guys. Take it from me. I've built this business in pockets for a really long time, like running into the bathroom and responding to messages. And that works. But when you have a system in place and you get like clear on what you want to do, I know that if I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning, I get my devotional done, I get my Bible study, I set my intentions for the day, and then I jump in to serve my team and work on my personal business. If I do nothing else that day, my work is done, right? So making sure that you are taking time to invest into your business is critical. And the other piece that I said was personal development. You have to be doing that personal development. I know so many people are like, oh my gosh, I lost 30 pounds, but it's not good enough. And I'm like, what personal development are you doing? Right? Or their body will be absolutely banging, like muscles popping, and they're like the most negative person in the world. I'm like, you need Jesus and you need some personal development. Like, you can't fix that negativity on your own or by hating yourself, right? Or hating the choices that you've done. So I'm a firm believer in that. But just figuring out like what works best for you. Another key piece, sorry, I'm like throwing a lot at you guys, but communicate with your spouse or your kids. Make sure that they understand why this is important to you. Include them in your vision. And if you haven't sat down and wrote out your vision of what that looks like, you have to do that, because if you don't know where you're going, no one else will either. And if you are a newer coach or somebody who's wanting to get serious about building this business, you are going to have to make sacrifices. And it's going to become really agitating and annoying to your spouse if you're constantly like this and you're like, sorry, babe, I can't watch season 3 of freaking, what's that show my husband's watching? Yellowstone, because I have this team call, right? So really just making sure that people understand, like my husband knows Tuesday nights locked, like it's my team call night. And I have prayer night. We have a network-wide prayer group that we do at 5:30, and then I go into team call. Like, it's a lot, right? So what I did early on in the business, probably not early enough, but is I went and got a whiteboard, and I put that has a calendar, and every single month I update it. So my kids know what it is, my husband knows what it is, and my kids have basically grown up with this because I started when my oldest was 8 and he's about to be 14. So like, my kids have seen it. My daughter knows nothing else. Like, she's super not happy she doesn't get to go to the retreat next month because she's like, oh, it's a beach buddy trip. I haven't been on a beach buddy trip in a long time. Like, I haven't been anywhere except for here with you guys, so I'm leaving. But just really making sure that you're clear, and then don't be negotiable about your goals. Be flexible in how you achieve them. But if there's something that you want, like if you say this year you're going to become, a premier coach or an elite coach or a diamond coach, make that happen. I'm a firm believer that diamond is a decision. All you're doing is going emerald over and over again. And I pretty much get everyone started as a coach because who doesn't love a discount? And they can make a decision afterwards if it's not for them and they can cancel. But why would I not get you started like that initially to save you that $40 later? I don't know if that's helpful.
Yeah, we actually say that too. I tell all my coaches, and we call it a priority member, and we explain that you're going to get this discount. That way you don't have to worry about signing up for it later. You can cancel, no penalties, no fees, and you're saving money. So it just makes sense to sign up that way.
Yeah.
Do you sign them up? Like, do you just do it and send them the link and then tell them like, hey, this is how I signed you up. You're going to be a discount coach. Like, do you explain it after the fact, or do you let them, or do you ask them?
I think it's probably a healthy mix. It probably just depends on our conversation. I'm not a scripts person either, guys. I should tell you that. I don't use a script. And I don't give my team scripts. I will give them different ideas if they ask for it. But I don't know. I feel like just telling them up front is generally how it is, because then it's not like any back wheeling where you're like, oh, sorry, I should have told you. I'm pretty upfront with it.
Yeah, I agree. Someone asked, what would you say your favorite personal development is? Not like right this minute, but for a new coach or for someone that's just getting going.
So the book that I read, or I shouldn't say read, guys, I don't read, I listen. I literally, if I sit down to read, it's normally my Bible and a devotional, and that's like the 30 minutes that I can get in, because I literally, like, my eyes cross, my mind will start thinking about different things. So I am totally an audible person. But I listened to You Are a Badass 3 times when I first got started. And I feel like that book gave me so much confidence, which is funny because I feel like God like literally planted that seed, because she had conflictions with God and like finding him and being comfortable talking about it. But that one was an amazing one. When I knew I wanted to start building my team early on, The Energy Bus was a really good one. A book I read about 4 years ago, like I didn't stop. I turned it on and didn't stop. It was a pretty heavy season. 2017 was like a hard year for Beachbody. And like my team was getting recruited hardcore from one of my star diamonds. And it was just like, she was my friend and it was awful. And so I read the book. Oh my gosh, now I can't think of it. I want to say Present Over Perfect, and that's not the one. It's Brene Brown. Rising Strong. And that is an incredible book. So yeah. And I was a huge Rachel Hollis fan. Not that I'm not anymore. It's just not something that I totally focus on. I loved Rachel Hollis's books. I've done a couple of her seminars and trainings. What am I reading right now that I really love? I'm a podcast person too. Like, I will listen to podcasts over watching TV. So yeah.
Which podcast?
I really love Michael Folsom's Do Your Crap. Because she is in the business. I also love Melanie Mitro's Chic Influencer. I also love Keisha Fitzgerald, Empower Her. I love that one. I also listen to my own podcast because, number one, I want to know like what I said, did it make sense? And then I think it helps me grow. It's called The Brave Babes, if you guys want to check it out. Or it's Brave Babes podcast, not The Brave. And then I'm really loving this one. It's called She's Here for It. And this girl is in network marketing as well. And she is she builds faith-based as well. I love Trent Shelton. So, oh, who else? Hold on, I gotta find it. It's called Be You Unapologetically, and she's a coach. I found her on accident. She spoke, I was like in this training with, getting ready to do a training for Kate Schultz, and this girl was speaking, and I was like, who the heck is that? And I looked her up, and then I found out she had a podcast. So I loved her, but it's called Be You Unapologetically. Really, really, really good. And a lot of them are pretty short, so it's not like a long, process.
So I know you're going to have to go here in a minute, but I want to ask you one other thing because this is always the dying question, as you know, and I know there's no secret sauce for recruiting and building your team, but what would you say has really helped you build momentum every single year and bring on people that are not just discount coaches, but those who are wanting to work the business and, move forward with that?
I think it's a lot of little things. Number one, I think it's discipline and consistency is riding out the storms. And like, I show up whether my kids are sick or whether I have a crazy week or whether I'm not feeling well, like I show up regardless. And so I would say that has a lot to do with it because people know that they can count on me and they can trust me. And then as I've, built my leadership muscle is having a system in place that sets very clear expectations up front and gives people tools and resources so that they can be successful. Getting them started on a program and starting and finishing it to help them get that first win and they have their transformation picture so that they can speak with confidence. Because I think that's, a lot of new coaches feel like, well, I can't share anything. I don't have a before and after picture. I'm like, girl, in my first week, I lost 6 pounds. That was like where I started sharing. In your first week, you can start talking about it. But I also encourage my coaches, as soon as they get started, is go start sharing why you got started. How long have you been watching us? What made you want to join this team? There's, 450,000 coaches. What was it about us that you wanted to join? And then help them start creating a vision, because what I've noticed is a lot of moms, we forget that we can dream and we can set goals and we can do those things. So really making sure that they're clear on what they want. And if all they want in the first 30 days is to make their investment back, perfect. Let's go find 3 people. And I have them make a list of 25 people that are people that they see on a regular basis. So, your spouse, your mom, your sister, your best friend, the first friend that you're texting when, you have important news or the district tells you that school's never going back in session. Like, who are those people, right? Who are the people in your mom play groups? Like, thinking about those people, and then we'll craft that message like, hey, Kelly, I'm super excited about this new opportunity. I feel super uncomfortable asking you, but I feel like I need to be brave in this and just ask you, is this something that you would want to do with me? Even if it's for 30 days, like I need somebody else to do this with me. What do you think? Right? And really helping them. And then I'm the first one commenting on it. I'm the first one hyping them up, dropping a GIF, like giving them love. So I would say that's.
Yeah, I love that. Does anyone else, since Melissa has her own team call here at 7, so does anyone else want to ask her anything for one more question? Don't be shy. You can put it in the chat bar too. I think one thing that I've noticed, Melissa, is it's like what you said, you own your story and you speak truth, but you get vulnerable so people relate to you, and you're always sharing about the opportunity. and you're always sharing about how this has impacted you in so many ways. And I think that's the hard part for a lot of people, is they come in going, okay, but I'm not the level you're at. How do I talk about this? And I think that's when you just got to share from the bottom of your heart, like, well, think about what it's done for you already, whether you've been doing this for 2 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, a year, 3 years. But I think that's one thing that I notice, at least on your social media, on Facebook specifically. That's where I see you. And she really just gets raw and vulnerable. And that's where you build that trust and relatability, you guys, is by sharing that side. I need to be better at that, truthfully. So it's something that we can all work on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
I have a question really quick. Sorry. And my name's not Douglas. That's my husband. Sorry. It automatically goes to that all the time. But I'm Ashley. I do have a question really quick, and you might have touched base on this, but I was cooking. Do you feel like people reach out to you more on your posts or your stories, or is it like a combination of both? Like, I try to be pretty relatable on both, but I feel like I can write out my thoughts so much better than speak them, especially when you only have like the 4, little things to say everything, and you're like, do you feel like it's a combination of both, or?
I do. I think it's a combination, and I think it's just that consistency. And then as they're liking your stuff or they're watching your stories, because a lot of people aren't going to reach out to you because they're like, there's no freaking way I could do that, right? And so when it's saying, Ashley, hey, I seen you watch my story 10 times this week. Are you a coach too? Or have you ever considered doing what I do? Or I know this might be really weird, but I just stalked your Instagram and I'm obsessed with your vibe. I think that if we lived locally, like we could totally get together for coffee. I'd love to get on the phone and chat, right? And so I think it is that because there's that consistency, it's a good, healthy mix. It does take effort in reaching out though and pulling that out of people, because a lot of people, they think like I thought, like, well, that's good for them, but I just don't have time. Or so many people think it's like $500 to invest. It's so crazy to me. They're like, oh my God, I thought it was gonna be so much more. That's it? I'm like, yeah, that's it. So really, talking to them that way. But I would absolutely say continue to do both, because stories do go away, right? And if you're not sharing those stories within your grid, people might miss that because the story's already expired. And so thinking about, okay, content this week, what impact do I want to make? What do I want people to know? Right? The week that I was leading up to my daughter and I getting baptized, like I found Christ 4 years ago and we just got baptized. And I got so many questions. They're like, how come you waited so long? And I'm like, my church hasn't done a baptism in 2.5 years. Like, they remodeled and the tub went away. So it was like, it started conversation, and it's things like that. Or like yesterday when I shared about, I hadn't been tracking. And so although I wasn't eating awful, all the little treats and all the cheese and all the crackers and all the salami added up over time. And so now I need to, because I talked about in my stories, now I need to do it on my grid, right? So I think it's a combination of both, but really making sure you're reaching out too. I do get a lot of people that come to me, but being really intentional. I always ask my team that if you have people coming to you, what if you just did 2% more and started reaching out to other people? Imagine if you hit Success Club 20 this month, or you hit Success Club 5 and people just came to you. What would that be if you started inviting them? It's kind of like, I don't know, you're talking about this retreat. We're talking about it, right? We're excited about it. We're going to go. People aren't going to just assume that they get to go, which they don't, but you know what I mean? Like, we have to invite them. If there are people on our team who've earned this trip, they're gonna be like, oh my God, that's so amazing that you did that. And like, no, I want to invite you to do this with me, right? It's giving them the invitation to the party.
Yeah, I love that. All right. Well, I know you got to run off, but Melissa, thank you. I know that's one thing that we all need to work on, is storytelling and just speaking our truth. And that was really helpful. So thanks again for being on. I will do a photo of us if you guys want to stay on a sec. And I'll do a boomerang. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Awesome.
Thanks, ladies.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Thanks, Mel. Bye.
No.